There are no shortcuts to getting highly coveted press coverage for your brand, only smart cuts like the DIY PR project. Learn how to grow your brand's credibility with PR on a budget with me by your side. This program is your all in one membership with expert training, customizable templates, and a supportive community to cheer you on every step of the way. Join us and start growing your business with free publicity today. Sign up now at diy-pr.com. Welcome back to Grow Your Wealth. I'm your host, Rena Goodwin, and today we're diving into the world of luxury branding and entrepreneurship with none other than Elizabeth Solaru. Elizabeth's journey from a headhunter to a renowned entrepreneur in the luxury market is nothing short of inspiring. She has built a reputation for helping brands differentiate themselves, connect with high-end clients, and create extraordinary experiences. In this episode, Elizabeth shares the challenges she's faced in the early days of her business, the importance of adaptability, and how to develop a luxury mindset, as she calls it. We also explore the emotional aspects of luxury marketing, the power of storytelling, and the personal well-being practices that have helped her navigate the high-pressure world of luxury branding. If you've ever wondered what it takes to attract high-end clients, stand out in a competitive market, or create a brand that's truly unforgettable, this episode is packed with insights and actionable advice. Get ready to be inspired by Elizabeth's wisdom and expertise. Let's get started.
Elizabeth, welcome to the Grow Your Wealth podcast. You have built an incredible world-renowned brand from very humble beginnings, I saw. Can you take us back to that first moment when you decided to start your business and what kept you going during the early days with some of those limited resources too?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and I look forward to sharing some of my journey. So what got me to start my business was I had been let go from my job as a headhunter in 2008. And going back a tiny bit, prior to that headhunting job, I went to university and I became a microbiologist. So I was a scientist. And then I remember thinking, I don't want to be a lab rat all my life. So I decided to do an MBA, and then I got a job as a headhunter to cope with the stress, the 18-hour days, the long commute, etc. I started baking, and I'll bring in baked goods to my colleagues. And then when I was let go from my job, I then decided if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. Although it was 2008 and the bottom had dropped out of the market and everything, I decided that I was just going to go for it. So that was the moment I decided to set up my business. And of course, I had a problem of clients. So I did a couple of things. The first thing was, in the UK, we have mini cab offices. I don't know if you have them in the States, but you can call a cab, it'll show up at your house and it'll take you to wherever. So I remember talking to one of the drivers one day and he said, oh, by the way, we leaflet. And I'm like, what do you mean you leaflet? And he said, we distribute leaflets to neighborhoods. And I said, do you do really, really nice areas, like posh areas? He said, yes, we do. So I gave him some beautiful cards and he asked for maybe like a tenner, £10, £20, I can't remember. And every couple of weeks, they would leaflet and I started getting clients. And then another thing I did, because obviously I had to eat and sustain myself, was I took the yellow pages. In those days, Google was still quite early. There were no online directories. So I took the yellow pages, which is a very big phone book, and I made so many calls, probably 120. And then one day I made a particular call to the office. I did not know at the time. I thought it was just another wedding planner, but it was the office of Lady Elizabeth Anson, who happened to be the cousin to the late Queen Elizabeth. And the lady at the other end, she said to me, oh, do you make cupcakes? I'm like, yes, of course we make cupcakes. And I'm going to be in your area in the next 3 days. Would you like me to bring you some samples? And I did that. And before I even got home, I got a call to meet Lady Elizabeth, and that's how I've got a big order of about 200 cupcakes, and the rest, as they say, is history. But the early days were very fraught. I'm not going to lie. I remember feeling quite cold because I couldn't afford to heat my flat properly because of money. And what just kept me going was this has to work. And sometimes there's a bit of desperation and bravado that just keeps you going. You know, you have to make it work. So that's why I was trying all sorts of creative ways to get clients because I didn't have the money for advertising.
That is incredible. Oh my goodness. I love that story, especially 2008 was a really tough year for a lot of us. I also lost a job during the Great Recession time period as well too. And while I didn't myself jump into entrepreneurship right away, I do credit that time period for really helping build that drive, right? That like, I've got to figure this out. I've got to do it. Do you feel like that's carried you through until this day? I mean, because let's be real, right? Over the past, what is it now? 16 or so years, the times have not gotten easier, right?
No, they haven't. You just got to keep powering through. But another, more importantly, though, you may have to pivot and adapt because it's not just about powering through, it's about adapting to the times as well, but not being consumed by trends. So you've got to watch the market, see what's happening, and then keep driving. But you've got to do it in a very considered way, is my opinion. And that kind of adaptability, flexibility, that is where your creativity will come in. Because as entrepreneurs, there's never enough money to do anything unless you have a large injection of capital. And as you know, maybe less than 3% of businesses that are run by women are funded anyway. 97% of the funding goes to men. So we're in a very precarious position of no money. So you've got to make it work. So you've got to figure it out and be very creative with no money.
Absolutely. And speaking of no money on the other end, you work with individuals with a lot of money, right? Royals, luxury brands, and have really carved this out as your niche, which is really, really cool. What advice do you have for entrepreneurs that are looking to attract those higher end, big ticket, luxury, dare I even say royal type of clients?
The first thing I would say is they're actually in a great position right now. I know it might not seem like it might not look like it might not even feel like it, but that they are in a great position because yes, the market is fulfilled with brands, big name brands that have that are easily recognizable, etc., etc. However, that, in my opinion, is great because you have all these amazing brands, but not all of them are differentiated because to clients, sometimes they begin to look the same. So this is an opportunity for what I would call maybe an upstart brand to come in and carve their own niche. And certainly we've seen a couple of brands do that already. So I would say this is a great time, number one. And number two, you need to have that luxury mindset. Everything begins with a luxury mindset. I don't mean living a lavish life or traveling on private, because that's what people think of. But I'm talking about knowing that what you are producing is worthy of being in the luxury market. When I coach my clients who are trying to enter into the luxury market, I find that sometimes it's not the fact that the product is not good. Sometimes some of them have incredible products, but they're underpriced. So that's one set of clients. And another set of clients, I find that they hype the product so much, it's mediocre. It's not differentiated enough. So it's about knowing that, okay, to get into this market, what is my point of differentiation? How am I different? I know people talk about USP, but USP is not often what people think it is. So when I set up my business as a cake maker, I could always go down the route of, oh, we only use organic ingredients and we only do this and that is not differentiation. 1,000 other businesses do that. But differentiation begins to come in when I say, I will create bespoke cake flavors for you. So instead of the chocolate, vanilla, blah, 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 I'm happy to create, for example, if you have a particular flavor from your childhood, bubble gum or anything you loved as a child, let's see what we can do with that. This is where the differentiation begins to come in. Then you need to think about the service that you're offering as well. I never had a shop front because people think I had this really posh shop. No, I didn't. But it was the way I delivered the service to the clients, that was my differentiation. So to anyone wanting to enter the market, there are three key pieces of advice. Number one, luxury mindset. Number two, know the 5 pillars of luxury. And number three, know the different types of luxury clients.
I love that. Thank you so much. I think that that helps break it down a lot better for people. And just to be clear too, Elizabeth, you're not baking cakes still, right? For royals, right? So in terms of that transition that you made, I mean, you are a world-renowned speaker. You've worked with the likes of now Oscar de la Renta, Harrods. You speak on stages across the world as well too. I mean, it's really phenomenal. I mean, when I say humble beginnings, cake baking, I mean, we see it all over the TV now, right? Like huge fan of the Great British Baking Show, by the way. But how did you go from, inserting yourself into this luxury marketplace through something as something as elegant as baking cakes to making this huge leap over to the business side of things?
Thank you. That's a great question, actually. What happened was during the pandemic, nobody was going anywhere. And I joined Clubhouse and I thought, oh, let me find some luxury rooms, business rooms, really. And I couldn't find any. So I just started talking about luxury. Some people would talk about maybe, because I didn't want superficial luxury. So you talk about your latest handbag. That to me, I want the business side of things. So I then started the business side, and then somebody else from Canada joined me. And for a solid year while we were in lockdown, every week, every day, we invited people on. And then people were saying, but Elizabeth, you know a lot more of the luxury world than. And then I started getting invited to other rooms. And then I started getting invited to online stages to talk about things that people didn't know about luxury business. So how to build a brand, how to, especially if you have no money, how the different types of luxury clients, I categorize them into 8 different archetypes. Because people think, oh, you're either rich or you're not. But no, there are different types of luxury clients. So that was how it started. And then before you know it, when the world opened up, I started getting invited to talk at conferences around the world. And I just did it because I didn't even realize that, speaking gigs could be paid or whatever. I was just doing it for the love of it and for the educational piece. And that's why I've decided to put all my knowledge in a book. So I've written the kind of book that I wish I had read 20 years ago. And I talk about these things and I literally give people the blueprint, as in, if you want to enter into the luxury market, if you want to set up a luxury brand, this is how you do it. Because I realized when I looked at, because I love books and I read so many books on luxury business. And then I realized that they were written by professors of luxury or people who had worked for very big name luxury brands. So there was nothing for the founder level. And it just got me thinking that somebody like Louis Vuitton, who walked barefoot to Paris 300 miles when he was 13, if he was writing a book today on entrepreneurship, what is the kind of book he would write? So that's why I wrote my book.
That's incredible. Oh my gosh. Tell us a little bit more about the book itself. I heard you say something about the 5 pillars of luxury. Yes. Is that what we'll find in the book?
Yes, absolutely. So the book itself is divided into 3 parts. So I always start with a person. So you as an entrepreneur, and I created 9 archetypes of the different type of luxury entrepreneur. So when I did I did the test and I typed to myself because as a scientist, ex-scientist, I like to prove my own theory. I came out artisan and visionary. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. Artisan, because left to me, I will just be creating cakes. I'll be happy for the rest of my life. No thought to costs, no thought to pricing. I'll just be creating. And a visionary, because I'm always thinking of the future. What can be? What should I do next? And which is great. So those are the upsides. The downside is that as a visionary, I needed to be grounded in the present. I need to know every aspect of my business, especially the money. And then as an artisan, I need to look at margins and costs and be very, and also charge whatever it is that my creations are worth. So when you then look at yourself, so I look at the luxury mindset, I look at you as an individual, then the second part of the book, the 5 pillars, and some of the pillars are things like craftsmanship, customer experience, storytelling, and perception. And for me, storytelling is the pillar because a lot of people talk about storytelling, but nobody shows you how to do it. In the book, I literally break it down and I show you how to do it. And I use Chanel as an example of how they use things like the plot, the characters, the environment, how they build that into a story. So you now have a blueprint where you can build your own story and tell your story. And I say to people, don't shy away from parts of your story that you might be ashamed of, because that could be the part that people resonate with the most. So I spoke about Louis Vuitton walking barefoot to Paris at 13, Coco Chanel being in an orphanage at a young age, and Gucci, the founder of Gucci, he was a porter at the Savoy. And because of the luggage that he kept on carrying up and down, that was what gave him the idea of creating very elegant leather goods for the rich. So again, everyone's beginning in luxury doesn't start with a shed load of money. And then the final part of my book, which is about luxury clients, I tell you the 8 different types. And a good example is King Charles, so the king, and Ozzy Osbourne, right? And there's a famous meme going round about those two. According to demographics, they're both white male, they're both the same age, they've both been married and divorced twice, and they both live in a castle. Demographics will tell you you sell to them the same. But psychographics will tell you they're completely different people and they're different archetypes according to my book. And I name the archetypes and I use celebrity examples. So when you read about it, you go, this celebrity is this archetype, and it helps people understand a bit more. So those are the things that you need to bear in mind if you are entering the luxury market.
Elizabeth, I absolutely love that. Working in public relations, branding, and so forth as well too. A lot of this is, what I also share with my clients as well in terms of building a business, building your brand story, your unique perspective, speaking the language of your audience and bringing them closer to you through what you have to offer, right? Solving some sort of pain point, if that makes sense. I'd love if you could also share with us as well too, because I think for a lot of listeners, right, your story is very unique, right? I myself don't know a lot of individuals that work exclusively with high net worth individuals, celebrities, royals, etc. as well too. So let's say for that listener that is starting a brand, whether it's a product-based business, a service-based business, I might be thinking to myself, well, what is the problem that I'm solving for the people that seemingly have no problems, right? Like how can they kind of crack that nut and put themselves in their ideal customer's shoes and determine what can I sell to them?
Okay, so this is where I'm going to be slightly different. This is not about solving a pain point or a problem, because these people, they have the money, right? Yes, they do have problems, don't get me wrong. But this, for me, I would say to people, it's not about solving a pain point. It's about creating emotional resonance. So it's about, okay, if someone who has everything, what can you create that would make them go, I have to have this, right?
Yeah.
So if we look at a famous handbag brand, I'm not going to mention them, but very famous brand. Does anybody need a 6-figure handbag or a 5-figure handbag? No. Does a 5-figure handbag solve a pain or a problem? No, because any old handbag will solve that same. You just put your crap in it and excuse my friend, you just put your stuff in it and that's it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to luxury, this is where the emotional, the psychological, and the social begins to converge. People will buy a handbag like that in order to, as Samantha in Sex and the City said, it's not the handbag, it's what it means. It's the meaning and that emotional meaning, knowing I am one of the few allowed to carry this handbag. I'm one of the few lucky ones. And even if you look at the way that this company operates, there are several things they do, and I discuss it in the book. Number one, the handbag is limited. So you need to put your name on a list. There's a 2-year waiting list or more or thereabouts. I don't know. Then after 2 years, you may or may not be offered a handbag. And if you are offered a handbag, you have to accept whatever it is that you are being offered. So it may be something you like, it may not be something you like. But here's the thing. People understand that the moment you walk out with a handbag out of that store, it can potentially double or triple in value because of the rarity and exclusivity.
Whoa.
So you need to say to yourself, whatever service or product that I'm creating, is it of value enough? And number two, is it priced high enough? Price is not everything, but it's a signifier and it's an indicator, sometimes to some people, of quality. So this is why something mediocre is not going to cut it, but your product doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be good. I always say this, your product doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be good. And you have to build a lot around it that people go from not sure to, oh my God, what do I have to do to get that? So again, luxury is completely different. I don't believe you're solving anybody's pain. Even if you are, there are 100 other people that can solve the same pain. But what is it that you're bringing to the table that makes a luxury client go, I need to have that? But different luxury clients respond to different triggers. So it's about knowing which trigger and knowing which lever to pull and how to sell to them, because that's part of the process as well. When you look at, for example, I use this example of a hotel. So hotels, all they do is very simple model. They provide rooms for you to spend the night, a month, a year, whatever. That's it. But the 5-star hotels, it's about the experience. They deliberately create these amazing lobbies, which, if you look at it from a business model perspective, a large lobby is almost like a waste of money because it's empty space. It's not really doing anything, but it's psychologically deliberate because the moment you step into that lobby, you feel transported into a different world. One, there is space, probably more space than the average person will ever have in their life to live in. But to the high-end client, they might even have homes better than that space, but they create that space in the lobby. Then the way you're ushered in, your luggage is taken up to your room, everything is laid out for you, blah, 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 blah. So that is a kind of level of service that you need to aspire to if you want to come into the luxury world.
I love this, Elizabeth. And what this is really reminding me of too, right? We're not just talking about things that take our pains away, but bring us closer to pleasure, and how much emotion, right, that we hold inside of ourselves that helps us make these really important decisions. And walking into a hotel room, changing your environment completely changes your outlook as well, right? Like it changes your mood, it elevates, it lifts. And I know that people day in and day out are always looking for like how to add even little luxuries into their life every single day. And here on the Grow Your Wealth podcast, we talk a lot about wellness, right? I mean, what are some of those little luxuries in your life that you bring to the table, right? When you're, at home, winding down, maybe with a glass of wine. What does that look like for you?
Oh, for me, my best ever luxury is my health. Because the older you get, the more you begin to appreciate, oh my God, all the hard, when you're working those hours and you take it for granted that your body will just take it. So for me, my massive luxury right now is my health. And the one thing I do not skimp on is my mental health day, which is 1 day a week. I do nothing except sleep. And I really, really mean it. I just stay in bed. I do nothing. I switch off completely. And I may do a few TikTok scrolls, I've got to admit, but it's about me just switching off and just emptying my brain, emptying my mind so I can refresh myself. So that for me, because time is one of the most precious resources that we have. So for me to almost indulge myself and spend that time doing nothing. So to me, that is the most amazing luxury. Another small thing that I do, I love afternoon tea. So going out and having proper afternoon tea in a nice restaurant, that is my guilty pleasure. I love, 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 love doing that. And I've tried so many in a number of hotels around London. And yeah, so those are my two things. I wish I could say I exercise as much as I should. I try to, but I don't always succeed.
That's okay. Baby steps, baby steps. Those little things make a difference. And studies show that, I mean, sleep is so, so vitally important. I can only imagine too, working in the luxury field, it must get quite demanding, right?
It's extremely demanding, and clients do not work according to your timetable. They work according to, and also they work according to their time zone. I'm quite lucky because a lot of clients come to London, and if they're coming to London, they might, again, clients, they might send you a WhatsApp. In certain countries, WhatsApp is the mode of communication when it comes to business. So they use WhatsApp a lot. So, and I know quite a few people that go, no, 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 you got to fill in my form on my website. At that point, you have lost them because you need to make the experience as frictionless as possible. So you get a quick WhatsApp at an odd hour, you jump up, you're like, okay, how can we make this happen in a couple of days? So yeah, those are the kinds of things. Or it could be something around, they're planning the event and then they go ghost, and you think, okay, maybe they've walked away or whatever. And a week or so before the event, they're like, yeah, so yeah, by the way, that event, and you're thinking, what? So, and again, things like dealing with gatekeepers, because some of them have some really ferocious gatekeepers that you have to manage. In addition to managing the client, you have to manage. And then you've got to be comfortable as well with situations where you sign NDAs, you're not allowed to talk about things, you turn off your geolocation on your phone, or maybe even leave your phone. I remember arriving at a client's place, and we had to leave our phones in the car. So there were no phones, nothing, and you're checked because, again, we're talking security here. So you just have to be very comfortable around the situations and not bat an eyelid. And even if you see certain things, you didn't see them, if that makes sense. So it's a different world. But after a while, I don't know. I don't say I'm blasé about it, but they're just human.
I do completely agree with you. I've never worked with royals, but I've worked with a number of celebrities and rock stars in my past life as well. And you're 100% right. They're completely human. I would love if you would also just quickly share with us to Speaking of NDAs, because that was actually one of my questions, especially when you're growing your own personal brand, is right, Elizabeth. When you grow your clients' brands and their businesses and support them, you want that to come back and reflect positively on your business and attract other luxury and high-end clients as well. But if you're signing NDAs, you're not able to content capture at a work event, what do you leverage instead to help boost your business? I know you've been featured in the media in some really cool places too, like
Yeah.
Vogue and the BBC. Is
Yeah.
that helpful? Testimonials? What does that look like?
Yes, that is a great question actually, because it's a dichotomy, isn't it? You know, you've got to be confidentiality versus, exposure for your business as well. However, I would just say there are some things you can do. So this is where having a variety of clients come in. So not all clients require NDAs. There are a certain set of clients. I call them the aspirationals. And the aspirationals they are amazing to work with, because if you do an incredible job, they tell everybody, because remember, they want to appear bigger than what they really are. So occasionally I will work with them, and on the understanding that we are spreading the word everywhere. So that is one way of getting around that. Another way of getting around that is even just industry events. Again, just make sure that you are visible in industry events. And we all kind of know each other, so we know who's working with this person, that person. So again, that's another brand building strategy. And another one that I would suggest that people do a lot of, if you can, is try and get profile pieces in certain publications. So the publications that your clients read, get your profile pieces in there, or get an opinion piece in there, or an expert piece in there. Or you can even suggest to the editor, do you have a problem page? I will be your agony aunt for, I don't know, the luxury sector or whatever. So you get yourself in there. But the most important thing is just get yourself out and about and known. But make sure you choose your publications wisely, and don't discount online publications as well, because sometimes people think luxury is all about the glossy magazines and the Vogues. Give me an amazing online media that has the relevant audience over a vanity piece in a magazine that only one person is going to read. And by the way, apparently you can't even screenshot certain things from magazines anymore because they can sue you. So I prefer right now, at this point in my career, I prefer online that directs traffic to my website. So again, it's about profile building, and it's about not necessarily just relying on clients to give you the exposure. It's about you going out and trying to find the exposure yourself.
Oh my goodness. Amen. As a publicist for a very, very long time, I could not co-sign on that more strongly. And especially on the digital front, right? The anticipation is that of course you'll get more traffic, more interest in your brand, right? But it's also that juicy leverage that it affords you as well too. So maybe what you're saying as well is like, okay, maybe I couldn't talk about this particular project, but I can go to the media and talk about, the scope of what I do and the type of clientele that I serve and what I do for them, get that soundbite or that article or that exposure in that major media outlet where your ideal client is reading. And then you can even leverage that on your social media, on your website. I mean, that really stood out to me on your website as well too. So, for folks that are interested in learning more about you, how can people work with you? Like, can business owners work with you that want to build their own business, or is it, tell us a little bit about who you serve and where they can find you to learn more about you, your book, and your events.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, I work with business owners. I work across the board. So, because what I'm trying to do is champion small businesses within the luxury space. The big brands, they have the money already. So I'm championing people who want to enter into the luxury space, or they are in the luxury space and they want more luxury clients. You can find me on LinkedIn under Elizabeth Solaru. That, I try to share a piece every day on luxury business and how it applies to you as a small business owner. And my book is available on Amazon. It's called The Luxpreneur. So please buy it. Even if you are not working in the luxury sector, I had someone buy it and say, oh my God, this is going to put me so much ahead of people within the same sector as me, although he doesn't want to work in the luxury sector, but he got so many gems from the book. He was like, oh my God, this is going to put me right ahead. So if you have an interest in the luxury sector, this is a must read because I lay out the blueprint from yourself, the journey you've got to take, the things you've got to do, as well as how to find and sell to these luxury client types.
Absolutely love it. I cannot wait to read this book. I mean, luxury, if anything, right, we've taken away, it is absolutely a mindset, right? So
Absolutely.
cannot wait to dive deep. So by the time this podcast episode airs, it'll be 2025. My last question for you, Elizabeth, is how do you plan to grow your wealth in the new year?
Oh, I've already put things in place. I will be collaborating with a couple of people. I will be doing a bit of traveling as well because the world is now one big giant place. So collaboration, travel. I will also be looking at monetizing a certain part of my business. And once I've got the plans all done. So there's a lot of things that I'm planning to do in 2025 because for me, that passive income thing is got to happen, and it's got to, so that way you're not spreading yourself too thin. And also, more importantly for me, I can have more sleep days. Instead of my one, I can maybe expand it to two. Yay!
I absolutely love it. Yes, get that sleep. Elizabeth, it was so nice to meet you. I can't wait for everyone to tune into this episode. You have shared and been so generous with some great information here today. And congratulations on all your amazing success.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope this episode deposited some useful advice and insights to help you grow your wealth. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future conversations. You can find more resources, episode details, and updates at growyourwealthpodcast.com. And let's keep the conversation going on Instagram. Follow me at Grow Your Wealth Podcast. I'd love to hear your thoughts, questions, or takeaway from today's show. Until next time, remember, burnout is optional. Take care, and I'll see you next week.